Thanks, Reyes. Good morning. It is 6:30. Students and their parents are entering in a third week of no school, but at least the discussion between government negotiators and the BC Teachers Federation continues. Greg Harper joins us live from Richmond with more. Greg?
Good morning, Jody. Yes, both parties have been talking here at the Delta Hotel in Richmond. Talks actually wrapped up at 2 o'clock this morning, bargaining between government negotiators and the teachers union. And this time, both parties are talking with mediator Vince Reddy. This is pretty significant because you may remember Reddy left the talks during the Labor Day long weekend, at that time saying the two parties simply too far apart for mediation to begin. So they talked well into the night on Saturday. Actually, talks wrapped up just after midnight. They reconvened on Sunday morning, and Vince Reddy left the hotel here at about 2 o'clock this morning. No word on if any progress has been made here, but both parties will again be talking today.
So I've adjourned the talks overnight, and we're going to resume in the morning, and that's about all I can comment on at this point.
So the fact that both parties are talking here has to give people some optimism, but still no school today and still no deal, at least not yet. Jody?
Well, we'll be checking in with you all morning long to see if a deal is found. Thanks so much. Greg Harper reporting live from Richmond this hour. Earlier in the day, a predominantly pro-teacher crowd turned out at the Vancouver Art Gallery. Hundreds of parents, students and teachers themselves rallied in support of binding arbitration as the BCTF has proposed. The rally also seemed to center around continued demands for improved class size and composition. While frustration continues to grow, there's also cautious optimism that the parties can reach a deal soon to get kids back in school.
I've noticed in a lot of speeches the Premier is talking about taxpayers as though they're a separate group. But we're taxpayers, we're parents, there are teachers here as well, and we're voters. And our children will be voters. And the Premier should think about that.
Some members of a pro-government group attended the rally, with an altercation reportedly breaking out. Luckily, cooler heads eventually prevailed. It's back to work today for MPs in Ottawa as the fall session of Parliament begins today. Prime Minister Stephen Harper will lay out his government's priorities in a speech to his caucus. Government House Leader Peter Van Loan says the Tories will stay the course in their approach to the economy and job creation, but the Conservatives will face some distractions. The Mike Duffy case is likely to haunt them when the disgraced senator's lawyer makes a court appearance tomorrow related to the 31 charges Duffy is facing in the expense scandal. Alberta will now officially get a new premier. Jim Prentice will be sworn in as the 16th leader of the province this afternoon by Alberta's Lieutenant Governor during a ceremony at Government House in Edmonton. His cabinet members, whose names have yet to be revealed, will also be sworn in. Alberta is about 16 months away from its next election, which will be held in the spring of 2016. Toronto Mayor Rob Ford remains in hospital this morning awaiting a diagnosis of the tumor that caused him to drop out of the mayoral race on Friday. Yesterday, his brother Doug Ford told reporters to stay tuned for his mayoral campaign platform to be announced in coming weeks. Doug Ford is refusing to say whether it will be similar to his brother's platform. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry says nearly 40 countries have agreed to contribute to the fight against the Islamic State terrorist group. Representatives from more than 30 countries are meeting in Paris today to discuss ways to tackle the militant organization. That includes ministers from the main European states, the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council, and Iraq's neighbors and Gulf Arab states. The White House says it will pursue allies willing to send combat forces. That's something Canada and Britain have ruled out. Future of the United Kingdom is in serious question with this week's referendum on Scotland's independence. Scots are preparing to vote this Thursday on whether to leave the UK. Queen Elizabeth has been largely silent on the matter of Scottish independence until yesterday. She reportedly commented on it after a morning church service near her Balmoral estate, telling someone in the crowd, quote, "I hope people will think very carefully about the future." Polls show the vote is split nearly 50-50, but a large number of voters are still undecided. He might not be royalty, but Rick Hansen is recognized as one of BC's greatest ambassadors. So it was fitting he was on hand to receive a special guest. The man in motion greeted the Countess of Wessex at Vancouver's Blesson Spinal Cord Centre. Hansen gave Sophie Rees-Jones a tour of the world-class facility. Sophie and husband Prince Edward are in BC for their 5-day tour. They kick things off Friday with a visit to Government House in Victoria. Royal couple heads to Alert Bay today, wrapping things up in Kelowna tomorrow. Then they're off to Saskatchewan and Northern Ontario.